Welcome back, everybody. And as per usual, I am Michael, and this is Michael's Matters. And one of the interesting aspects of our Social Security system is the fact that it's set up with rules and regulations and incentives for Americans to basically wait as long as possible to start taking their Social Security benefits. Meaning that if you take your Social Security benefits at the earliest age possible, at 62 years old, then you'll get a much lower monthly amount than if you wait till the oldest age possible at 70 years old, where you'll get a higher monthly benefit. So obviously, that makes sense. You should just wait till you're 70, right, to get the highest amount, right? That makes the most sense. But the reality is that maybe not in all cases and not all situations. So does that mean that taking it early at the earliest possible date is better? Well, maybe it could, right? And again, that's going to be a big fat depends. For some folks in their specific situations, it might be better. Some, it may not. But today in Michael's Matters, what I want to talk about is it better to take your Social Security benefits early, or is it better to take them later? And at what age does it actually break even if you took it early versus as if you took it later? So I think it's a pretty good question to go over. I've been kind of looking at this a lot, and I think it's really interesting. So before we get to it, though, if you like these videos, if you find these videos interesting, helpful, or at least useful, please don't forget to like and subscribe. And that way you can get updates when my newest and most informative videos get put up. All right, so let's start talking about one peculiarity about the Social Security retirement system here in the United States. And it sort of kind of makes sense at first glance, but in practice and sort of in reality, it sort of doesn't make that much sense. And that is that the retirement age standards for Social Security, they have age ratings on them. Now, of course, I'm not talking about Supplemental Security Income, so that's SSI, or Social Security Disability Income, so SSDI, because they don't really have a minimum or a maximum age limit on them. But for normal Social Security retirement benefits, there is an earliest and an oldest age at which you can start claiming your benefits. Now, the earliest age right now in 2022 is set at 62 years old. But if you do this, you'll get reduced benefits that are less than if you wait to the full retirement age, the FRA, at the age of 67 years old. For that would be for those of you who are born in 1960 or later, or 66 years old and 4 months. For those who were born in 1956 or older. Now, on the other hand, if you wait even longer to the maximum age, and thus the highest monthly benefit at the age 70, you'll get benefits that are actually a lot higher than if you retired at the full retirement age at 67, or much higher than if you retired at the earliest age at 62 years old. Now, I mean, just as an example, if you were born in 1960 and you wait until your 70th birthday, you'd be getting around 124% more of what you have gotten at the full retirement age if you wait to the full oldest age. So right now, the average Social Security benefit in 2022, for example, for someone who retired at 67 years old, is actually set at $1,658. This would mean that if you were 70 or you waited till you're 70, then the check would actually be at $2,055.92 a month instead of the $1,658. So it's a pretty sizable chunk of change. In fact, $397 more, especially average out over a year. That's a lot of additional money. And you know, that right there is pretty straightforward. So the best thing to do is wait until you're 70, right? Well, so maybe not always. So it doesn't always make sense to wait until you're 70 because yes, you will get more money. That is true. But there are a few other things to at least consider before you decide to wait that long. First, of course, is are you able to actually wait that long? Can you retire? Do you have finances and assets and things that are going to help you to survive, start claiming your benefits at 70? Because that's a lot of additional years over 62 or 67. Most folks, you know, the average folks are not able to do that, especially when you get into your 60s, and it's not really that possible. And in fact, in 2017, a study showed that around a quarter of all seniors in the United States rely on their Social Security benefits for 90% or more of their monthly income. That number goes up dramatically when you say, how much does it represent more than 50%? That goes up way, way higher. So waiting is a great idea. Again, if you have kind of retirements, IRAs, 401ks, Roth IRAs, stocks, property assets, businesses, etc. But most Americans working day to day, that situation is just not tenable to wait that long to not get your Social Security benefits. Now, a second consideration is, I guess, I'm not really sure how to say it, but if you want to take your Social Security benefits early, well, there's something that Social Security assumes you won't be thinking about, which is your own mortality. But mortality is a very important statistic when considering if retiring early or retiring later is a better option. Because if you start taking your Social Security benefits early at 62, you will get less money monthly. But the key point here is that you'll be getting it for longer. And that is a huge consideration, because even though your monthly benefit is lower if you retired at 62, I mean, it's going to be 30% less than at the full retirement age at 67, you will get it for more months. Not to mention the rate of inflation, which also means that the dollars that you get earlier on in life as time goes by will actually be worth more than the dollars that you receive later on down the road. So this is what I really wanted to get to in this video, is the breaking point. The break-even point is where, if you retired at 62 versus if you retired at 67 versus if you retired at 70, where do those points all cross over? And it's type of those word math problems you should get in school, where the trains are going across country from different points at different speeds, and they want to know at what point do they overtake each other and what point do they meet. And these are essentially three different money trains or benefit trains that are leaving in different stations, in this case ages, and they all overlap at a specific point. So I want to talk about where is that point, where does it break even, where do those trains meet, and when do those faster trains overtake the slower ones. So let's take a look at the charts. Now, I use this handy-dandy AARP Social Security Benefits Charts calculator, which I'll put on the link down below, so if you want to check it out yourselves, you can. But in this example, let's imagine you were born in 1960. So that means that you would need to wait at least until you are 67 years old for the full retirement age, that's FRA. And you are just one person. An average income over your lifetime earnings is at $50,000 a year. And we'll do another video about how that's calculated and how that works on this. But just for this example, $50,000 a year average earnings income. This would also mean that if you retire at the earliest possible age, your monthly benefit at 62 would be $1,349 a month, or $1,927 a month if you waited to 67, or if you waited till 70, at the highest amount, it would be at $2,389 a month. Now, to keep things simple, I am going to leave out the COLA amount adjustments for yearly because, one, they're pretty unpredictable, especially after these last couple of years. But it should still work the same in much of the way because of the fact that the COLA is going to be applied equally across all three. And overall, it should adjust, okay, and it'll still work for the example. So you can see here that the yearly benefit after the first year, at 60 years old retirement, is at $16,188 every single year. So that'll repeat over all the years. So by the end of the fifth year, when you reach age 67, then you will have reached $97,128 in benefits that have been paid out to you from Social Security. And so now if you start at age 67, you can see over here, then your monthly benefits will be about 30% higher at $1,927 a month, or $23,124 a year. So it's higher. And lastly, if you look at this last chart, you can see that at 70 years old, you get approximately 30% more, 130% more. I guess that's 30%, right? 30% more of your full retirement age benefit at $2,389 a month, or $28,668 a year. So this creates a graph that looks like this. Ta-da! I got the chart here. So it's also hard to see, but what you can tell is that if you retire early at 62, then the benefits you receive will actually be more than if you retired at 67 or 70, but only up to a point. This point is called the break-even point. So any years after this point that you can see right here for the if you started at 67 or if you started at 70, then you're essentially going to be getting less benefits in comparison to retiring early. Now, in this specific case, let's go back to the chart. You can see that if you waited to retire at 67, you would actually catch up to the 62-year-old version of yourself who retired early at the age of 77 and a half, around there. So that's when your benefits for retiring at 67 would actually overtake that train, the train leaving the earliest station at 62. Now, if you waited at 70, you can see that it's not actually going to catch up to the 62-year-old amounts that you have received until you get to around 80 and a half. So it would mean about 10 years if you retired at 67, or 11 years if you retired at 70 after the point in which you retired that it would take to catch up. So it would also mean that you get, on the other side of this, you'd get around 22 years of receiving more benefits if you retire at 62 years old rather than if you retired at 67 or at 70. So obviously it can be very tempting to want to retire early because the early on, the kind of short-minded perspective on it means that you will get a lot more money, or if you are not certain about how long you're going to live, it may make sense to retire at 62 because you get all that money, and if you retire at 70 and then you pass away at 71, then you would never end up catching up. So it sort of makes sense in this situation. But as you can see, retiring early, it makes sense in the ideal world up to a specific point, because it means not only do you get more benefits, but there are also things on the chart that, are not really accounted for. So things like spending more time with your family, having more time to do things that you love instead of working, unless you love working, which I do love working, but you never know. Or having more time to do presumably things that you normally do while you are healthy that, as you get older, the health starts to decline. It's just part of it. So things like travel. But on the other hand, it also means that as time goes by, later retirement versions of yourself will eventually catch up and ultimately outpace the benefits that you receive as a 62-year-old version of yourself. And so you'll have more money on a monthly basis, but likely less time with the money. So when it comes down to which one is better, it's a tough choice. Like, how much do you value your youth and your time? Do you have other sources of income that you could use to maximize kind of both of these things? So maybe use some of your retirement benefits that you can take out at 59 and a half while you're waiting to retire at 70, get the longer one. Those are all really big factors into making the decision as whether it's better to retire early or to retire later. And there are all kinds of strategies and kinds of things that you can work out to kind of try to make the most out of the situation if you plan far enough ahead of time. And these are things that I'm learning about, and I'm going to share with you all as time goes by. But I just want to point out that in some cases it makes sense to take the money and run, right? Retire at 62, take off, and never look back. But it also makes sense, to be more fiscally sound, or if you're anticipating a longer runway, maybe if you are as a male, we tend to live less. If you're a female, you tend to live longer. Or in my case, I think my decision at the moment, right now, I would say that I would much rather take it later than leave the extra cash for the wife, because just in case she needs it then. So, all right, so that's it for today's Michael's Matters. I hope that this at least brought some perspective to the debate about retiring early, or taking your Social Security benefits early, or taking them later. Also hope that you found it interesting, helpful, or at least useful. And if you did, please don't forget to like and subscribe. That way you can get updates when my newest and most informative videos come out. So for Michael's Matters, I'm Michael, hoping you take care of yourself, take care of others, and have a happy, healthy